when you're first learning is a great way to develop those standards. Let's talk about those for a little bit, Laurel. So one of them for you is they need to show up.
You have to show up. If people are regularly not showing up, there's no point to the group.
They've got to have their work done. They've got to be prepared for the call, prepared for the meeting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's one of the big standards for me is you got to show up. You got to show some initiative. You have to be working on the stuff. That's something for me. If someone's just stuck week after week after week and they haven't accomplished anything, we're a mastermind group, but we're not necessarily coaches. I mean, we can't force you or motivate you to do anything if you're not motivating yourself. And that's a standard I have as well, is get in with these people that are doing it because you're trying to do it.
And having somebody there who just shows up, just taking a seat that might be better occupied by somebody else, that sucks the energy out of a group. We've talked about this on the show here before, Laurel, but you and I are members of a local Toastmasters group, public speaking group. Mm-hmm. And sometimes we'll have people come in that group and they're there because their employer says, oh, you need to get these skills, go to Toastmasters. Those people never want to be there. They never participate. They'll sit in the back of the room and text.
They're the worst.
The worst. And you don't want somebody like that in any group that you have. It's better for them not to be there. They don't want to be there, so why waste their time? And more importantly, why let them waste your time? So I think that's something, there's something to be said for that. I've been in groups before. I was in one group, and we had an opportunity to work within the group with a very, very well-known internet marketer. This guy's making like $20-30 million a year, very well-known. But he said, well, I can't make every call. I'm on the road a lot. That was his commitment to the group. And we had to all vote him in. That's how we did things. I said, well, I don't want him in. If he can't make every call and do the same commitment that the rest of us are doing to this group, we don't need him. I mean, we can say that we've got him in the group, and we can all feel good about ourselves based on association, but it's not really helping us to say that we're in a group with this guy, except as maybe an ego stroke with other people. It's certainly not valuing the mastermind. And when he comes in, we have to catch him up and whatever. It's like, I don't need just a few minutes every few months with this guy. I wanted an hour with him a week, and if he can't commit to that, not interested.
Mm-hmm. Well, you do. You have to show up. You have to participate. You can't just be that person you talked about in Toastmasters who sits in the back of the room. That doesn't help anybody. And in the group that I'm in now, we said, if you don't show up for 3 times, like, we're going to kick you out. So sorry about that. Out. 3 strikes and you're out. And I think somebody already has 3 strikes, but still, at the same time, that was our standard. And we qualified that standard up front. We set it at the beginning, and people stick to it if they want to be in the group. And so I think not just setting standards, but communicating them to the other group members at the very beginning and saying, this is what we're going to do. If you're not down with that, sorry, this is how we're doing it. And same with your guy who was making $20 million. Well, we'll see you later.
Yeah. And no hard feelings about it. I think it's just you getting clear on the people that you want to associate with and valuing that hour that you have together. And it could be more than an hour. Let me tell you why I'm saying an hour here, Laurel. We might as well get into this. We talked about the Rich Switch book. And again, it's available on the show notes or on Amazon if you want to search for the book called The Rich Switch. But I've got a 4-step process in there, and I'm going to go ahead and talk about it right now if that's okay with you, Laurel. Because if you've got 60 minutes, this is how I would run a mastermind group. So 4 questions. Here's what you ask when you're going around the group or have a hot seat. You ask, what's working for you? So you kind of get an idea of what is working for the person, what they're having success with, something that you can learn from them. Second question, what's giving you trouble? Get an idea of where their sticking points are. The third question you ask for somebody in your mastermind is, what do you need help with? and get something very specific. For example, I've got a new promotion coming up, and I'm really looking for ways to build my mailing list. I'm looking for more web traffic. I'm looking for a quicker way to write this book. And then the fourth question is for the other remaining members of the mastermind. After you go around and get advice from people, they'll give you tips on how to add people to your mailing list, how to get more web traffic, how to write your book more quickly. But you ask specifically, who can hold blank person accountable and is willing to check in with him to make sure that he's going to be on top of this during this week. 4-step process, and you can do these meetings. Usually that part of the meeting could take 25 or 30 minutes, but you kind of bookend it with opening remarks. You close it with maybe a resource that somebody could recommend, something they found for the week, and sometimes accountability, saying here's what we're going to accomplish this week, and then go around the room or the call, and everybody comes up with what they're going to do that week. Somebody writes it down, and then you can check in and open the next meeting the next week with seeing how that person did or all those people did on those things they said they were going to do.
That's a great format. And is that all laid out in the book you talked about?
That is. Yeah. So if you like that, you don't have to get it because I just gave you the format, but there's some other good stuff in it. The Rich Switch, available at Amazon. I think it's $5. It's cheap.
It's a good book. I try to read all your books.
Thanks.
Well, I think kind of closing remarks here for Pat are start connecting with people, get on forums, go to these conferences, join groups, wherever like-minded people hang out, that's where you need to be. Those are going to be the new members of your mastermind group. And you don't have to know everything to be in a group. And the people in your group don't have to know everything, but you do have to run them through some rigorous standards to be able to be in a good group with them.
And we're talking about a very organized way of having a mastermind group. Weekly meetings, everybody shows up on time. I think it's important to keep in mind, though, mention Toastmasters. That's a mastermind group. If you go to church, your Sunday school class is a mastermind group. Alcoholics Anonymous is a mastermind group. Weight Watchers, mastermind group. Anytime like-minded people come together and they're going for a singular, definitive purpose, that is a mastermind group. Your family, mastermind group.
Mine's not a good one. But I get your point.
You, me, and the dog.
You, me, and the dog. And I have a group of 2 girlfriends, and the 3 of us get together over coffee every month or so, and we talk about our businesses. And that's a tiny little fun mastermind group. Is it super serious? No, but it's fun, and it's something that helps me do what I do. So it doesn't have to be super structured if you don't want it to be. But when I think of mastermind groups, I do think of something formal and structured and kind of has a schedule to help you do what you need to do.
And that's probably what Pat meant. But at the same time, don't discount these informal groups. Sometimes, Laurel, your Yaya sisterhood group that you're talking about, sometimes you have the biggest breakthroughs working with those girls.
Mm-hmm. We have fun, if nothing else.
Yeah. Well, it's good to have a good attitude when you go into these meetings. You want it to be fun. You want it to be engaging. It doesn't have to be work. We've talked earlier on the show, on earlier episodes, about loneliness and isolation. A mastermind group is a great way to combat against that.
I think when you go into a group, just kind of start acting as if you have a lot to offer, and know that your value isn't based on how much money you're making or anything like that, but it's just based on just that, adding value in the best way that you can and listening to people and being there for them and holding them accountable and just doing the best that you can. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to know everything. Your business doesn't have to be making millions for you to do this, but just offering value is the way to be a great person as a member of a group.
Well said, Pat. Thank you for your question.
Where can people go, David, if they want to ask us questions for the podcast?
If you've got a question, redpodcast.com is where to go. You can get in touch with me or Laurel directly. We answer questions from time to time on here.
I like questions. I think it makes us talk about content that's really going to directly help people and answer the questions that are on people's minds.
Yep. More questions coming, more answers coming on future episodes of Red Podcast. We'll see you soon.
You've been listening to Red Podcast, Real Entrepreneur Development. Subscribe today using iTunes, Stitcher, or via RSS at redpodcast.com.